In the hot, heavy autumn of 1851, the St. Louis Hotel in New Orleans hosted an event that breaks every known rule of money, reason, and human nature. A dark and disturbing mystery that historians have quietly debated for more than 100 years. In the center of the rotunda, under the great dome where fortunes were traded like playing cards, a woman known only as Amara was placed on the auction block. She was described by the few witnesses who left records not just as beautiful but as unnatural, with a gaze so powerful it silenced the loud crowd of cotton lords and sugar barons. Yet the official auction ledger, a thick leather-bound book now locked inside a climate-controlled vault, tells a story that logic cannot explain. According to the stained pages, this one woman was sold and returned 12 times in only 6 months. Each time her price rose higher. Each time the buyer brought her back within days, shaken, pale, and refusing to speak about what had happened inside their homes. What secret could be so frightening that the richest families in the South would lose thousands of dollars just to remove one woman from their houses? Why did the official records of St. Landry Parish suddenly fall silent after her final sale to one of the most powerful senators in the state? The truth is hidden in burned diaries, sealed court files, and a long trail of ruin that followed anyone who claimed ownership of her. This is not only a story of the antebellum South, it is a record of moral reckoning, proof that some secrets are too dangerous to hide, and some people are too powerful to be owned. Before we open the pages of the Red Ledger and reveal the truth behind the most impossible sale in Louisiana history, if you are drawn to the mysteries history books avoid, subscribe to Before the Story. Turn on notifications and like this video. Tell us in the comments from what part of the world you are watching as we uncover this story tonight. The world of Louisiana in 1851 was full of contradictions. The choking heat of the bayou existed beside the gold-covered luxury of the elite. In the heart of New Orleans, the St. Louis Hotel stood as the center of this trade, a place where expensive cigar smoke mixed with the damp smell of the river. Under the massive dome of the rotunda, the powerful gathered to show their wealth in human form. But the year 1851 brought an anomaly that would later be erased from polite conversation. Records from that year, especially the Ledger of Human Property, Volume 4, contain entries that break all normal accounting rules. The handwriting of the auctioneer, Jean-Baptiste Muir, usually neat and elegant, becomes nervous and uneven on the pages marked Lot 402. The entry lists a woman named only Amara. There is no last name, no plantation origin, no list of skills. Only a description of her appearance, written with strange respect and discomfort. The ledger notes that the subject had an unusually strong constitution but maintained a silence that unsettled the other stock. Unlike most people forced onto the block, who showed fear or grief, accounts say Amara stood completely still. She did not cry. She did not beg. She simply watched the men bidding on her with an expression one man later described as a judge watching an execution. This calm was the first warning that something was wrong, a break from the expected order that the buyers ignored, blinded by her beauty. The rotunda during her first sale felt charged, tense in a way even experienced traders could not explain. The bidding was driven not by need, but by obsession, by a desire to own what was rumored to be the finest woman ever sold. Looking back, the behavior feels almost sick. Men known for careful spending abandoned all caution, pushing the price far beyond any market value of the time. They were not buying labor, they were buying status. They believed owning her would seal their place at the top of Louisiana society. None of them realized they were bringing destruction into their homes. The first recorded buyer was Henri Duguay, a cotton magnate with a fast-growing fortune. The ledger simply reads, sold for $5,200 to H. Duguay. Transfer immediate. Duguay, known for mocking superstition, laughed when warned about the woman's strange silence. He saw jealousy, not danger. As he led Amara away, witnesses claimed the air in the rotunda suddenly turned cold, a chill felt even in the October heat. At the time it was blamed on a draft, yet 3 separate diaries mention it. Duguay's carriage ride home marked the beginning. His private journals saved Onel. By because they were seized during later bankruptcy describe a heavy feeling settling over his estate. He wrote of feeling watched even when alone. His dogs hid and refused to bark. The servants grew quiet and nervous, avoiding Amara not out of hatred, but fear. She was given quarters near the main house, a sign of her high value, but she did not live there like others. Instead, she began a pattern seen in every house after. She would stand completely still in certain rooms, staring at a wall, a floorboard, or a piece of furniture. She never spoke or pointed. She simply looked, forcing others to follow her gaze. Duguay first saw this as defiance. He ordered her to move, to work, to obey. His commands seemed to vanish before reaching her. In his journal, his confidence slowly breaks, replaced by confusion as he realizes his power means nothing to her. On the third day, the silence shattered. Duguay returned home to find his wife standing in the nursery holding a crowbar. She had torn open the wall Amara had stared at for 2 days. Hidden inside were letters and a small locket. They were proof of Dugay's secret second family, a mistress and children he had hidden for years, funded with money taken from his household. The discovery destroyed everything. The image of the perfect marriage collapsed instantly. Dugay's anger was useless. He could not punish Amara. She had not spoken or acted. She had only looked. The next morning, Duguay returned her to the St. Louis hotel. The ledger entry is written with a shaking hand: returned. Defect in character, incompatible with domestic peace. He accepted the loss gladly. He did not want a refund. He wanted her gone. The traders whispered that he had gone mad. They did not know he was only the first. Normally, such a return would lower value. Instead, the opposite happened. When Amara was auctioned again, bidding grew even fiercer. The rumors of Dugay's collapse added mystery. The second buyer was Louis Fontenot, a wealthy Sioux gar planter who mocked superstition and believed Duguay weak. He bought her for $5,500. Fontenot took her upriver to his massive plantation, run with brutal order by hundreds of enslaved workers. His diary shows early satisfaction. He described Amara as quiet and graceful, but within 2 days the tone changed. He wrote of thick air, pressure, and discomfort that seemed tied to her presence. Amara refused to sleep indoors. She stood instead in the rose garden, staring at a patch of earth beneath an old oak tree. The staff avoided her, whispering that she walked with spirits. Fontenot laughed at this, but his family changed. His 6-year-old daughter spoke of a crying baby she heard only near Amara. Fontenot threatened her with violence, demanding she move. She turned her eyes on him, and for the first time his hand shook. On Sunday morning, his wife ordered the garden dug up, driven by a panic she later could not explain. 3 feet down, they found the bones of an infant, wrapped in linen embroidered with the Fontenot crest. It was the child of a secret affair, buried by Fontenot himself years earlier. The screams of his wife echoed across the estate. Fontenot stood frozen. Amara stood nearby, silent. She had not dug. She had not accused. She had only revealed. Fontenot returned her the next day. The ledger reads, returned, unsuitable, bad omen. He lost $1,000 willingly. The pattern continued. A judge bought her. In 2 days, his forged will was exposed. He fled the city. Buyers kept coming. Secrets fell. Families collapsed. Records showed divorces, bankruptcies, and criminal cases rising wherever she went. People no longer saw Amara as a woman. She became a walking conscience, impossible to own. Doctors tried to explain her. One physician believed she reflected guilt rather than caused it, that she resonated with hidden shame like a mirror. The ledger ends with her final sale, to a man who believed power could bury the past. But history suggests no one ever truly owned Amara. She only revealed them. She simply drifted toward the place where tension lived inside the house. When a man hides a crime, he creates a deep inner gap, a place filled with pressure and fear. Poyer argued that Amara was naturally pulled toward these gaps, standing near the physical proof because that was where the mental strain was strongest. She was not a witch. She was a symptom of a sick society. Fourier's work grew darker when he began speaking with the families who had returned her. He recorded the same medical signs in many of the men: severe sleeplessness, shaking hands, and a strong fear of looking at their own reflections. These men were suffering from what Fourier called moral collapse. Their bodies weakened quickly after owning Amara, as if the effort of holding their lies against her silent presence drained them completely. One former owner, he wrote, clawed out his own eyes in madness, screaming that he could still feel her watching him. The doctor's notes also reveal a troubling detail about Amara herself. Despite being sold again and again, despite poor food and constant movement, she showed no signs of weakness or hunger. It was as if she survived on something other than food. In the margins of his journal, Fourier wrote, "She feeds on exposure. With each family undone, she grows stronger, brighter. It is a form of truth parasitism." This realization frightened him. After only 3 days, he ended his study, claiming he too had begun seeing shapes in the shadows of his clinic, faces of patients he had failed, mistakes he had tried to forget. His final note was a warning that no one listened to. He told the auctioneer Muir that Amara could not exist within slavery. A slave, he argued, must be empty so the master can write his will upon them. Amara was different. She was a mirror that reflected the master back to himself. "You cannot own a reflection," Fourier warned. "If you try, you will only cut yourself on the glass." The medical world dismissed his ideas as fantasy, but even now they remain the clearest explanation of what happened in 1851. The horror was not magic, it was psychological. Amara was forced empathy given form, a being who dragged buried trauma into the light. She was the counterweight to a system built on silence. Fourier's casebook was stored away and forgotten, but in the winter of 1851 his warning was just another quiet voice in a city roaring with trade. The auctions continued, prices climbed, and the mirror waited for the one man whose secrets were heavy enough to shatter everything. By December, Amara's influence had moved beyond men's records and into women's parlors. The tight social fabric of Louisiana's elite began to tear. Letters between wives, daughters, and sisters show a change in tone. To men, Amara was danger. To women trapped in marriages built on lies, she became fascination. They began calling her the truth teller, Madame de Line, a leading social figure whose who Spand almost bought Amara, wrote to her cousin in Natchez. "The men are terrified," she said. "They call her a demon. But I see how the women watch her pass. It is not fear, it is hunger. They want answers. They want to know where the money goes, why certain doors stay locked, who the children in town resemble. She holds the keys we were never given." This quiet network changed everything. Women began pushing their husbands to buy Amara, pretending interest in her beauty or usefulness while secretly hoping she would unlock hidden sins. It was a dangerous game. To bring her home was to risk ruin, but for many, truth was worth the cost. They were ready to burn their golden cages just to see what lay beneath. The divide deepened across race as well. Enslaved women already knew these secrets but had no power to reveal them. Amara became their voice. When she stared at a wall, servants made sure the mistress entered the room at the right moment. It was silent cooperation, a shared effort to wreak the master's house using his own purchase. By late 1851, the social season collapsed. Balls were canceled, dinners were tense and quiet, no one knew who would fall next. Suspicion filled every room. Husbands feared their wives. Wives saw strangers in their husbands. The old belief that women would accept lies to preserve comfort was broken. Church sermons warned against curiosity and division, but the people had already seen too much. Words could not undo it. Amara had shown that moral order was a mask for corruption. Even the church's authority weakened as its protected sins were exposed. One banker's wife, after Amara revealed stolen church funds, stood up during service and walked out with her daughters. Her husband was ruined within days. The image stayed behind, women choosing truth over status. Records show a rise in legal separations, rare and shocking for the time. Women were no longer blind. Even after Amara left their homes, her presence lingered. She left behind a war. Ines. The blindfold was gone forever. As Christmas neared, New Orleans held its breath. The red ledger lay open one last time. Lot 402. The families were divided. The stage was set for a man who believed himself untouchable. Senator Leonidas Thorne arrived to buy the truth teller and silence her forever. On December 20th, 1851, the final sale took place, reported not just in ledgers but in newspapers. Thorne paid $8,000, a sum that stunned the room. He bought her not to use her, but to destroy the legend. In a letter written the night before, he mocked the city's fear. He vowed to break her spirit and prove power belonged to the master. Thorn took Amara to Belter, his isolated plantation deep in the swamps. The land itself carried rumors of stolen ownership, records missing from archives he controlled. From the moment she arrived, the plantation changed. Songs stopped. Silence spread. At a dinner meant to show dominance, Amara stood behind the parish sheriff and simply stared. The man collapsed in panic and fled. When Amara turned her gaze on Thorn, he felt it at last, the cold fire. 2 days later, she stood at the ruins of an old cabin. His wife followed and found burned remains, proof of a family erased years before. Thorn's anger was not guilt. It was the rage of exposure. He realized Amara was guiding eyes to graves. His power fell fast. Fear spread. Workers slowed. Orders failed. His wife withdrew. Servants stopped obeying. Women gathered, talked, confessed. Authority shifted without violence. On Christmas Eve, Thorn tried to strike Amara. A wall of women stood between them. He retreated. His reign was over. That night, documents were found, a deed, a confession, proof of murder. Amara was not a mystery. She was the surviving child. She had returned. Letters were sent. Riders fled in all directions. Thorn planned murder, but it was too late. By dawn, he was dead by his own hand. Amara was gone, leaving only empty chains. The scandal destroyed Thorn's empire. The land was seized. An orphanage was built. The red ledger was burned, but copies survived. Amara was never seen again. Some say she fled, some say she vanished. But the meaning was clear. She could never be owned. Years later, a photograph appeared in Paris, a woman, unaged, wearing the cavalier crest, staring into the lens. Was it Amara, or memory made flesh? Those who know the story say her gaze makes you remember what you hide. Amara lives in silence, in fear, in truth waiting to surface. She was never sold. She was the reckoning. If you believe the past never dies, subscribe to Before the Story, like and share. The archives are deep, and we have only begun.